Hello friends, welcome to Learner's Planet. Friends, this is our first session for data interpretation workshop. In this session, we are going to discuss some good problems based on data interpretation from previous CAT papers and mock test papers of various organizations, and that involves doubts sent by the students, right? So you should attend the basic session of data interpretation before you come for the workshop, and just have your paper and pen with you and start solving problems right with me, right? So let's begin the session. Now friends, let's take this first set of questions. The questions here that include two pie diagrams, educational background and work experience, and it says it is the composition of the class in 2003 of XYZ Institute or two parameters, and the total number of students given to be 180. Now you must be knowing that in CAT questions are they do not include so much of calculations. The questions are actually quite logical, right? So here I'll be taking the questions which are logical but do not involve much of calculations, right? So let's see this first question. What is the difference in numbers between students with work experience and those without an engineering background? And you should try this question on your own. You can do it mentally, and you can see options are quite far from each other. So so that's quite easy to solve the question. Even you can do it mentally. Right now, what is the difference between students with work experience and those without an engineering background? Okay, we want the students should have work experience, right? Now both the pie diagrams are actually breakup of 180. Okay, now what we have the students with work experience as 56%, right? No work experience is 44%. So we want with work experience, so that is 56%. Okay, and without an engineering background, the other data is without an engineering background. So engineering background is 57, that means without engineering background is 43. Now this is also from 180 and this is also from 180. So since we want the difference between these two, what we can do is 56 minus 43, that is 13% of 180 precisely we have to calculate, right? That means 0.3 into 180 we have to calculate. So precisely it is 1.3 times of 18, right? So 18 then plus 5.4, so 23.4 something, this calculation will be, so around it is 23. So you can see the problem can be done mentally very easily in very short span of time, right? Let's take the next one. Now this one, if the proportions were kept the same and the number of students increased to 210, then how many more commerce students would be there? As of now, there are 19% commerce student, and the proportion is kept same, right? So since we have to find out the difference between the existing commerce students and the new commerce students, new set of commerce students, so precisely if proportion is same, you can directly calculate the difference between uh, both the data as 210 minus 180, that is 30. Overall difference is 30 in the number of students, and difference in commerce student will be 19% of 30. So that's 5.7 something. So that's around 6. Okay. Now this question, if 30% of the students are female students and 50% of these have work experience, then how many males would be there with no work experience? So that's pretty simple. 30% of the students are female, that means 30% of 180, that means 54 students are female, and out of 54, 50% of them is having are having work experience, that means 27 female students are having work experience, right? So out of 54, 27 are having work experience and 27 are having no work experience, right? Now the total number of students, those who do not have work experience, will be 44% of 180. So since the options are far from each other, I just calculate 45% of 180. So that is 72 plus 9. That's around 81. So around 81 students are there, those who do not have any work experience, and out of them 27 are girls. So from 80, 27 are girls. So remaining 53 or 52, we have the option. So they are males. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Now this question, if the percentage of arts students is double, then find the number of arts student. Okay, as of now it's 7%. So as of now, the number of students are 7% of 180. Now 18 and 7% of 180 will be 12.6. 18 sevens are 126. So 7% will be 12.6. Now we have to make them double. So 12.6, double of that will be around 25. Okay, pretty simple. Not much calculation is involved over here. Now this question, in the batch the number of commerce students exceeds the number of science students by. So commerce students 19%, science students 17%, so difference is 2% and we have to find out the number. So 2% of 180 is 3.6, so around it is 4. Okay, so pretty simple set. Now let's see this question here. VXL Limited has a 10% market share in widget market and sells 1000 pieces for rupees 10 each. It launches a new product which draws market attention. The overall market grows by 20% every year for the next 2 years, and VXL is able to increase its market by gaining 20% market share every year for the next 2 years. Okay, it raises price by rupees 5 per rupees 5 every year. The company's cost structure has a fixed and variable component. Its fixed costs are 5,000 every year, while variable costs are rupees 5 per unit in the first year and increases by rupees 3 per unit every year. The market share mentioned here refers to share by volume, that is number of items sold. Okay, so friends, what you can do is you can arrange all the data in the form of a table. That will be rather easier for us to solve the questions, right? So I just draw a table over here. So in year 1, year 2 and year 3, right? Initially 10% market share, then it is increased by 20% for next 2 years. So now it is 20% and then it is 50%, right? Then we are interested in market size. Initially it is 10,000 pieces for rupees 10 each, 1,000, so market size is 10,000. Then overall market grows by 20% every year. So next year it is 12,000 and then next year it is 14400. Okay, then we have cells. So now cells will be 10% of market size. So here it is 1000 units, 20% of, I'm sorry, this must be 30% because 20% every year the market is growing. So 30% of 12,000, that is 3600, and 50% of 14,400 is 7200, right? So this is number of units, and revenue generated price will be initially the price is 10, then it is increasing rupees 3 unit per year, so that's 13 and then 16. Now it raises price by 5 per year, 15 and then 20. Okay, so revenue generated is 10,000, 36 into 15, that is 54,000, 7,200 into 20, 144,000, right? So precisely this is the information that we have collected from this. Apart from that, we are left with this costing also, fixed and variable. Let's see now what happens in the first question. Now the very first question is, what is the variable cost in the second year? Now here variable cost is rupees 5 per unit in the first year and increases by rupees 3 per unit every year. That means for the second year the variable cost must be 5 plus 3, that is 8 rupees, right? And number of units in the second year is 3600, so we have to calculate 3600 into 8, right? 3600 units and variable cost is 8 rupees per unit. So 3600 into 8, so that we don't have to calculate, obviously it will be 28800. Okay, pretty simple. Now what is the VXL's revenue in the first year? That we have already calculated. The revenue is 10,000. Okay, so that was pretty simple. Then what is VXL's average revenue over the 3 years? So that we need to calculate the average of 10,000, 54,000 and 1,44,000. So that's pretty simple. I write the addition over here. 54 and 10, 64,000, 0, 0, 0, 8, 14 and 6, 20 divided by 3. So that's 208. So it must be around 70,000, right? Because if it instead of 2,08,000, if I make it 2,01,000, I'm sorry, 2,10,000, then it will be 70,000. So answer should be around 70,000. So that's this. Okay, so that's pretty simple. So revenue of VXL in the third year that we know is 144,000, right? Minus fixed cost, that is fixed every year, 5,000. Then minus variable cost. Variable cost is rupees 5 per unit in the first year, increased by rupees 3 per unit every year. So for the third year, 5 plus 3, 8 and plus 3, 11 rupees per unit, and number of units are in the third year 7200, right? So that's we need to calculate this. So from 145, we need 144,000, we need to deduct around 85,000. So let's see the closest option. So that's around 60,000. Okay. Now what must be its selling price in the third year if profits in the third year are same as the sum of first 2 years? Now profit in third year will be what? Profit of first year plus profit of second year. Now profit of first year is 1,000 units, and fixed cost, the revenue is 10,000, fixed cost is 5,000, and 1,000 into 5 variable cost is also 5,000. So there is no profit in the first year. In the second year, revenue is 54,000, fixed cost 5,000, variable cost is 8 rupees per unit into 3600, that we have already calculated over here, 28,800. So that is the profit of second year as well as profit of that we want profit to be in the third year. Now we have to find out the selling price in the third year if profit in the third year is this. Okay. Now this is the profit of the third year plus fixed cost, that is 5,000, plus variable cost, we have just calculated 79,200. So this will be the total revenue and divided by number of units, that is 7200. Now that's around 80. 80 minus around 30 is 50. 50 plus 54 around 1,04,000, or we can say 1,05,000 and 7200. Now let's see the options. We have 1050 by 72 that we need to calculate. 1050 by 72. So it's less than 15. Time it will be cancelled because 72 plus half of 72, that's 36, so that will go up to 108. So it is less than that, so your answer must be less than 15. Okay, I hope you are getting it. So that was also pretty simple. Just one question, that's this 108, involves some calculation, otherwise all the questions are really easy. Now let's see this question, an interesting set of question. Here, a certain sum is used for distribution of 4 prizes to 4 sportsmen in 4 successive stages. Every sportsman gets 1/3 of the sum meant for distribution for that stage plus rupees 16 as a special gift. So the questions are, what was the initial sum, what was the share of the second prize, and the sum left for distribution after giving away 3 prizes. Um, I'll try the first one. What was the initial sum? Now, see, at every stage, the sportsmen are getting 1/3 of the sum plus rupees 16, right? That means the initial sum should be divisible by 3, right? Then only you will be getting an integral answer, right? So we can eliminate this and we can eliminate this. Now we are left with 195 and 180. Okay, I just take 195 and let's see what happens. So suppose 195 is the initial amount. So in the first stage, 1/3 of 195, that is 65, and plus rupees 16, that means 81 rupees is given to the sportsperson. Now we are left with 114 rupees. So in the second stage, 114 by 3, that is 38, plus 16, so 38 plus 16, 54 rupees are given up. Now we are left with 114 minus 54, that is 60 rupees. So in the third stage, 60 by 3, that is 20, plus 16, 36 rupees are given. And in the fourth stage, now we are left with 24 rupees, and let's see, 24 by 3, that is 8, plus 16, all the 24 rupees are gone. That means 195 is the correct answer, right? After third stage, 24 rupees, we are left with 24 rupees, and 24 divided by 3, that is 8, 8 plus 16, all entire 24 is consumed in the fourth stage. So we started with 195 and we got that as a correct, right? So this is done. What was the share of the second prize? So that is rupees 54. The sum left for distribution after giving away 3 prizes. So we are left with 24 rupees. Okay, so once you crack this, all the 3 questions will be cracked simultaneously. Okay. Now see this set of question. Again, we have 5 questions in this set. Western Europe demand for propylene by end product in 1000 metric tons. End products, the list is given. IO, that is input is to output, shows the amount of propylene required to produce 1 unit of the end product. And demand from 1990 to 2002. Now let's see the first question. In percentage terms, the demand for a propylene grew fastest for which end product over 1990 to 2002, right? Fastest for which product? Okay. So in case of first polypropylene, we see polypropylene 2450 to 5755, that is more than double, or we can say in fact more than 100% we can say, right? So that's more than 100%. Cumin, that's 663, 700, less than 10%. Propylene oxide 775 to 1144, that is we can say around 50%, not more than that. Others maybe that's a in case of acrylonitrile 1241 to 12, that's a reduction. 890, it's very nominal increase. 775, 1144. So highest is polypropylene, that is more than 100%. We can see it is more than double over here. So this is the correct choice. Okay. Now, of the additional demand for propylene over 1990 to 2002, what proportion is contributed by polypropylene? Uh, in 1990, the total demand was 7215, and in 2002, the total demand was 11239. So this difference is 4000. Right, so that is an additional demand from 1990 to 2002, around 4000, because options are quite far from each other, so we can take approximated value. Right, after that we have to find out the contribution by polypropylene. Now polypropylene is growing from 2450 to 5755, so that is around 3300. So we need to find out the percentage. So that's around 82%. Okay. I hope that's clear to you. Now this question, in percentage terms, the maximum growth in demand for propylene for any end product in any 4-year period was shown by. Now propylene oxide 1990 to 94. Propylene oxide 1990 to 94, that is 775, from 775 to 930. So difference is around 150, around I'm just taking around 150, and 150 by 775, that would be approximately 20%. So this is around 20%. Polypropylene 94 to 98, polypropylene 94 to 98, 37 to 48, that is 11 by 37. So it's around 37 into 3, that's around 30%. 37 into 3 is 111, so it's around 30%. Okay, then cumin 1990 to 94, cumin 663 700, that means growth is of around 40 by 663, that is less than 10%. Okay, so but we have to find out the maximum. See, we can see in case of polypropylene over here 1990 to 94, from 2400 to 37, that means growth is of 1300 over 24, so that is more than 50%, right? So that would be correct choice. In fact, we can have more options also, but at least one we got, that's why we can neglect A, B and C, all of them, so that's none of these. Okay, now let's see this question. The number of products which maintained or increased their share of propylene consumption over 1990 to 2002. See, propylene consumption for each product in 1990 is given over here, and in 2002 it is given over here, right? So for polypropylene in 1990, the total consumption of propylene is 7215, and out of that polypropylene is consuming 2450, right? So that is 1/3. Okay, in case of polypropylene, it is consuming 1/3 of propylene in 1990. In case of 2002, 5755 out of total propylene consumption 11239, right? So that is around 50%. So in 1990 it is 33%, that is 1/3, and here in 2002 it is 50%. So from 33 to 50%, definitely there is an increase, that polypropylene is consuming more propylene in year 2002 than in 1990. So we have one. Now we talk about acrylonitrile. It's 1241 from 7215, and here it is 1211 from 11239. So you can see here there is a decrease and here there's a huge increase. So acrylonitrile can be discarded. Now oxo alcohol, here it is 892 from 7215, and here it is 959 from 11239. So you can see a very nominal decrease in the numerator, but huge increase, nominal increase in the numerator, but huge increase in the denominator. So definitely even oxo alcohols are consuming less propylene from 1990 to 2002. Okay, so that's also not correct. Then we talk about propylene oxide. So that is 775 out of 7215, and here it is 1144 from 11239. Okay, that's more than 10%, and here it is very, very less, more than 10%. Okay, so even propylene oxide is not showing an increase in consumption of propylene from 1990 to 2002. Okay, then we come up for cumin. It is 663 from 7215. You don't have to write, I'm just writing for your reference. 663 for 7215, and here it is 701 from 11239. Huge increase in the denominator, but very nominal increase in the numerator. So definitely not an increase in consumption. Okay, then we can see for isopropanol 424 to 461. So that's nominal increase, and here it is a huge increase. So we just have one choice with us, that is polypropylene, that is showing an increase of consumption, increase in consumption of propylene from 1990 to 2002, right? So we just have one choice. I hope you are getting it. You don't have to write all these data, you just can refer from the table. I'm just writing for your reference. Otherwise, the denominator, you can see a drastic increase is there, and in the numerator very nominal increase is there in most of the cases. Okay, now let's see this question. The production of which propylene derivative in 2002 is exceeded only by polypropylene? Okay, so we have to see the production of each and every derivative, and in that case we have to consider the input output ratio, right? First we have acrylonitrile. Acrylonitrile, in 2002 the total demand was 1211, and its input output ratio is 1 is to 1.1. So the production of acrylonitrile was 1211 by 1.1, right? For cumin it is 701 by 0.36. Propylene oxide, it is 1144 by 0.85, and we have to compare with the polypropylene. So polypropylene, it is 5755 by 1.02. Now let's solve them one by one. It's 70100. I just put it. 36 into 2 is 72, so it's around 2000. Okay, 36 into 2, 72, and that's 100, so around 2000. It is around 1110. Then this around 1400. I'm just giving the approximated calculation. So you can see cumin is having the highest production, that is around 2000, not exactly 2000 but around 2000 metric tons. Okay, so that's the correct choice. I hope you are clear with all these questions. If you are not clear for the first time, just do revise the explanation once again. And while doing the calculation, I generally do not consider zeros in most of the cases. So sometimes maybe it is 2000 ton, maybe it is 2000 metric ton, maybe it is 2 metric ton. So I am not bothered about zeros, right? Because I am just calculating the initial figure. So that's on that also is recommended to save time. Okay, so in the next session we'll be taking more problems based on data interpretation. Do revise this session, and let's meet in the next session once again. Bye bye.